Hey everyone out there in the void! Happy Halloween! We made it all the way to the 31st, and I'm now going to try to do 3 back-to-back reviews. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to get them all posted today, but, well, we'll give it the old college try, shall we? Especially since I'm going to go a little extra long in each of these and talk a little bit more about the month overall. So, each of these I did just one now actual deliberate choice of a movie I haven't seen off of each of my streaming services. So I always start with Netflix, so I start with Netflix. And you know, if my randomization had held through, it finally would have given me something different. But, well, I was actually choosing. And while scrolling through, I decided, I just kind of scrolled through the main horror recommendations and came across Hellfest, which is a movie I had been meaning to see, but so far had not. And I'd heard some pretty good reviews on this one. This one is a 2018 film, I believe. Yes, 2018. And it just seemed thematic to watch this one around Halloween. So, away we went. And in the opening credits, I was greeted once again by Tony Todd's fame, and I just can't seem to escape him this month, can I? Well, he has a very, very small role. He's mostly doing voiceovers throughout the Hellfest Park itself. Though he does have one very small on-screen role, but he's having fun. Now, this movie, it's about a group of friends going to Hellfest, which is a traveling horror park, essentially. And it's a series of mazes and haunted houses, and they want to have a good time, get really scared. Particularly in one area where the actors are actually allowed to touch you, called the Deadlands, which leads to some of where the scariest mazes are. And the friend group is not so subtly trying to hook up the main girl with one other guy, and as they enter the park, they immediately are beginning to be stalked by a masked man who slowly picks them off one by one. But no one believes them because, hey, this is a horror theme park. It's you just saying a guy in a mask is stalking you. Well, welcome to Hellfest. And it was overall very effective. I enjoyed this one. It wasn't the scariest movie, but there were some scenes of legitimate tension. The characters had some very good chemistry overall, which really helped. I mean, 2 characters didn't get along, but you could believe why they wouldn't sync up, but they actually did have some moments of camaraderie, so it wasn't like they hated each other. They just were a friend of a friend sort of thing, and they were growing on each other as the film went along. And no character was overtly obnoxious. Their heavy-handedly trying to get the 2 characters together was believable, and it was commented on enough, so the friends had some good chemistry throughout it. And there were some general scenes of uncomfortability when things are happening right in front of people and no one realizes it because they just think it's part of the act. When one girl's begging for help and running and hiding, and then the big arrow's like, oh yeah, she went that way, because she thinks it's part of the act, and then gets someone killed in front of her. Yeah. So, the blood effects are pretty good in this film overall, but to be honest, part of me just wanted to see more of this park, because this park looked really cool. I mean, it's not the strongest movie by any means, but it was satisfying. And now, normally I complain about not knowing where a killer came from or why this is all happening now, but I think usually when I have a reason for that is the question is more why now that I have it. Like when I reviewed what was it, Blood Pie. I liked Blood Pie, but like why the girl suddenly killed her parents now and went on to that, I didn't understand. Or way back in the beginning when I reviewed Madman, like it was a killer coming out of a summer camp, but he's apparently lived next to that summer camp forever. So why the guy was telling a scary story about him right now. So why was he suddenly coming out to attack people? I didn't understand. This one is mostly an opportunity, and they kind of, towards the end especially, seem to indicate the killer has done this many times. It's just, well, this was a good opportunity for him to do his serial killing. So the mystery there is kind of adds into it. Sort of like The Strangers, why there may not have been an exact reason for the killer to be doing this, but you can at least there's a like the opportunity. Like why now? Well, because there's a perfect opportunity for this traveling thing to get away with it. Okay, that worked enough for me. And the movie is better than Blood Pie and, in my opinion, Madman because you didn't make me stop and think about it. So, and like I said, at the end they do show a little something that's not quite a twist, but it kind of gives you a little bit, make you understand a little bit about the killer. And I will say the killer humming "Pop Goes the Weasel" as he stalked people it was a nice touch. So I'm gonna give this one 3 MacGuffins though. It wasn't outstanding by any means, but a very high 3. So it was almost at a 4. I just needed a little something extra to kick it up there, but I did enjoy this one. It just wasn't anything spectacular. It's a fine movie though. I recommend seeing it at least once, especially around Halloween. It's a great one to go with. I think that's everything on Hellfest. So, October wrap up part 1, where I'm going to mention, at least give a shout out to the best movies I saw this month. So, I'll give kind of a top 5. Now, I'm exempting the 3 deliberate picks here at the end. This is just among the 30 randomized films. So, I'm going to go top 5. So, let's see. Number 5, I'm going with The Ritual. Make sure that's what I'm going to do. Yes, The Ritual. So, this one is definitely still one of the better put together movies of the month, and the ones above it did exceed that, except for maybe one, but that was just because of personal enjoyment. But the camaraderie and the symbolism for this really made it an interesting watch. So, and the interesting creature design definitely kicked this one up there. So, Ritual's number 5. Number 4 is I'm going with Hush. Flanagan for me does no wrong, and he did it again here, or this is one of his earlier ones, but and the serial killer stalking a deaf woman who later starts turning around and fighting back was a very entertaining ride. It's one of the better slasher movies to come out in recent years. Then number 3 is I'm actually going with Patchwork. I have no idea where this movie came from, but it hit a sweet spot with me. It was a very enjoyable horror comedy, and the juxtaposition of the characters inside their heads was great. I wanted to spend more time with this movie, and I would totally watch a sequel here. Probably doesn't need one, but I'd watch it. It was a fun movie, and that's really what counts for that. So number 2, Conjuring. It still holds up. It's still good. Part of me didn't want to rate it so high, but that's just because it's been so overexposed. But when you sit down and watch it by itself, it still does hold up. And number 1, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've seen it countless times. I'll probably still see it countless times more. It's a dirty, bloody piece of brilliance. It hits all the right spots for it. So, yeah. That's a top 5. Texas Chainsaw Massacre easily takes it, but I just got lucky on Tubi with that one coming up for me, so I guess I paid the price later when Tubi started really handing me the low ones, but, well, what are you going to do? Alright, so I'll be back soon with my Tubi the final pick. Now this one I just scroll until something looked interesting. Harder than it sounds. Well, I'll be back soon. Till then, happy Halloween.